Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to this segment of Dale's Rails. With this being the last of a three-part video of work I performed on the completion of my town scene last week. This segment is dedicated to tips and techniques I use that culminated to the completion of my road and bridge scene. So please enjoy.
It's time to put on a black wash. Let's start down here. You can see that's too strong, right? I mean, I just used like the corner of my brush. There was a little bit of residual on this cap here, and I just took a little piece off and put in that water. That's how little black it takes. So if you get it too strong like that, don't panic. Just go right back into your water. And then just keep diluting it right on the surface. You can just dilute this straight down. Just keep running your brush over it, and that'll thin that up a lot, and just leave the desired effect that you was hoping to achieve in the first place. So I'm just going to keep adding a lot more water to this, just because I know that's going to be too strong. It doesn't take much of this black. I mean, you got to be very careful. Now, see, that's about right. You can kind of got that gray look to it when you're putting it on. You don't really want it strong black. So this is just knocking that kind of the brightness of the color down and kind of making it blend in. This blends everything in. Surrounding, all the colors that I use together, and it does a pretty good effect of kind of aging that a little bit, giving it an aged look. You can see here, hopefully you can see here in this, I'm going to have to probably go in and get a little bit more black here. I'm just going to get in here and just get whatever little black I can get off of here. I mean, it isn't going to be much. I don't need much. It's just, and then I'm going to put a lot of water in that right here. So I'm putting a lot of water in this and just getting it kind of a really diluted pigment. So, and I'm going to go right on in there. If you can see how, hopefully you can see how that's changing that a little bit. Get down here a little bit better. I don't know if that's showing up that good on the camera. It's showing up pretty good here. I mean, it doesn't take much of this. And you can see how it's just knocking that brightness out of that. And what it's doing, it's going to blend all the colors that I used on this. It's just going to blend them together. And you kind of want that effect, in my opinion anyway. So there we go. Just that quick. You can blend all those colors together just that easy, just with a little bit of black. Like I say, this is a good way to age your buildings too. You don't want to get carried away with it. That's the whole thing. It doesn't take much black. Trust me. At least not with the black I'm using anyway. And that's a lot right there. I can tell you that right now. I'm just going to try to dilute this right. And I just do this as I'm painting. I don't really necessarily mix the two. I have done that when I've got a lot, like when I did the rock, I actually mixed it together. See how this is blending this in. And, just go over everything that you painted, even this strip here. Even though a lot of this is going to get covered up with the buildings. And like I say, if it's too dark, all you got to do is just go in here and get more water and then just keep running water over it. And that will knock the black down quite a bit and spread it out. If you want it darker, just do more than one application of the black. It's better to do multiple applications of black than trying to do it the first time around. Okay, guys, I'm showing you here what not to do. That's why I should have had this fascia board on all the way around first, because now, since I've ballasted this track, I'm going through, because it didn't look right to have this edge here that I'm dealing with. So I'm going along and painstakingly trimming this edge and tucking it in. I'll have to, I've got some reballasting to do here, so this will clean up. This is going to give me a more defined edge, and that just wasn't going to work for me there. I wasn't sure that, that the paint and all that. The ballast may have helped, when I reballasted it, but I got to be careful. I don't want this edge of this ballast here getting up above the top of the ties. So just thought I'd kind of point out to you, I guess, the importance that getting this fascia on and done first before you ballast. Just because it's going to be much harder now to kind of mess with this. But this is another good argument for making the paint really thin and watery. That way I can also paint, and it's just going to run down in these cracks, so I'm not getting paint over here on my ballast. It's not something I really want to worry about, trying to figure out something to paint my ballast to match it back to what it's supposed to be in the first place. So don't be afraid to, really water your paint down. You're going to stretch it really a lot farther, and it's much easier to get it to cover, especially delicate edges like this. You can see this is something that's kind of a little bit touchy to try to do this, especially one-handed when you're holding the camera. So, well, I'm going to continue on. I just thought I'd kind of show you what not to do real quick. Well, I thought I'd show some of the painting I do. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just goofing around. So, you can be critical if you want, but this is how I'm painting my river scene. And, I know this probably isn't a very conventional way to paint, just daubing paint on here, but, it's working for me, so I don't care if it's correct way to paint or not. It's I'm achieving the goal that I'm trying to achieve anyway, so it's just I'm trying to make it look somewhat like a river. This is just the way I painted the other one. I'm trying to remember how I did it actually, so that's part of the problems of trying to paint something. The first one turned out a lot better than this, and I don't recall how I actually did it, but I'm just trying to replicate something that looks more like a river rather than a road. My sister was over and thought that back there was a road. I thought, well, that's one of the hazards of painting everything kind of the same color background. It's kind of hard to distinguish. That's why I painted my lake scene. I know you're not supposed to paint that blue like that, but I couldn't help it because, if you painted it the green like this, it would just blend it in. I tried that. I painted that 3 different times, and if you do it, it just looks, it all looks the same. So you kind of have to have some differentiation there. What I'm doing here, I'm just trying not to, have a pattern. It's kind of hard to do that. We tend to want everything kind of balanced, and so we tend to paint in patterns also. I think just because that's what our mind tells us we should do. But actually, in nature, hardly is anything symmetrical, is what I got to noticing. And, you know, to paint something perfect in nature, you have to almost understand its imperfectness is what leads to perfection, actually, is what I've discovered. Well, as you can see, things have progressed along pretty rapidly this week. I'm kind of surprised I got this much done, in spite of the fact that it took a long time for the paper mache to dry. That took like 4 days, but you know, you can see here it's all painted, kind of hard to see here. It makes it kind of a neat texture once you paint it, so it's kind of good in that regard. But when it dries, it's hard as a rock. So stuff I was seeing is still a little bit soft. You know, this is all set up too. You know, even the you know, I had to make these ramps. You know, that's a little bit soft yet. I put some additional in there this morning, a thin layer of it. It didn't keep me from painting it, but I should be fine to go ahead and lay this street back in. So I'm going to lay this back in here, get that done. And I've got quite a bit of work ahead of me yet to get my sheets of masonite pieces cut here. So I'll be doing that next. And I got some new train cars on the way, some more reefer cars. I'll do a video on that too for you guys. So tonight I plan on getting my roadbed back in, and I just use this Aleene's tacky glue. You've seen how well it did at holding that down. So I'm going to use it again. You know, I had never done this before, so I was wondering how well this worked. Well, apparently it worked pretty well. A lot better than I was thinking. But I've already got this laid out and ready to go in. It should go pretty quick. And I just spread a little of this glue out with a putty knife. And I just start in one area and just start, you know, working my way till I get the whole sheet down. Well, that wasn't too good. That's why it's good to have a wet sponge, damp sponge handy. I managed to do that. So I just spread this out, you know, and get it completely covering all the way edge to edge. I like to smooth it out with a putty knife. It's going to be a little bit more of a challenge with this hump down the middle now. You know, it remains to be seen if that hump is really going to show up all that much. It's a lot higher than I originally remembered it to be. So, you know, it may be one of those things you're doing it, you don't know if you're getting enough, and then after you're done, I got this painted. I'm wondering if it's too high. But you know, I don't know if it would how well it's going to show up underneath this. Doing it this way, and you know, I like to get it worked out all the way to these edges, and I just find it easiest just to spread this with a putty knife, really. A little bit more along these edges here. You know, you got a little bit of a work time with this, so you don't have to get that carried away getting this down. Lay this first sheet to about there, so I should have probably marked that. Looks like it's going to be right about there where I got that, so I'm just going to go to there. and it's not a big deal. It isn't like this instantly sets once you lay this over. It is really sticky, so it does do a really good job of holding it down once you get it in position. But it takes probably I'm not really sure how long it took for this to dry last time, but I didn't seem to have any issues with it, so doing it. So I just like to get a generous amount, but I'm spreading it pretty thin, so even doing this, it's still plenty thick. I mean, it's like I said, putting this hump down the middle, making it a little bit harder to spread this out, getting it even like I want to. I just want to keep working it. I took the edges of this and used it as a guide, and I've got some lines transferred down here. I don't know if those are showing up that well. They're pretty faint, just pencil lines. And okay, so I think that first sheet's ready to go in, and this stuff's really good. The butt seems to, it seems really good up to things, so, and to itself. It's kind of easy to get in position, and it'll stay there too. Once it is kind of a spongy material, but at least it doesn't want to spring back on you. That's kind of what I like about it. So this piece is going down pretty good. Yeah, that hump is showing up down the middle a little bit. I took a knife and cut some cracks in here. Probably shouldn't have done that. I didn't realize I was using pretty light pressure, and I didn't realize I'd went all the way through. So it's all the way through, which is probably wasn't the best thing in the world for me to do. But that sheet is down just like that, back in place. Just keep working it. Kind of work the glue out to the edges. Make sure it's getting down. This stuff is pretty easy just to use your hand to smooth it over. And you don't really need anything to roll it down in place. However, those cracks are trying to pull apart. It's just easy to push them back together like that. So I think that'll be all right. It's going to show up like as a crack in my asphalt. So needless to say, I didn't go any farther doing any more of those once I realized I was cutting clear through the surface there. And I've got some scrap pieces I had left over I think are going to work for the filler to the last section of the bridge. I just stopped them short originally. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to get that where I need it. I need this building out of the way, I think. There we go. Might have got a little too much glue, looks like. Probably kind of hard to see the ramp here with it being painted. Not sure how well that's showing up on camera. Oops, I got a little bit outside the line there. Yeah, that hump might be too much. Get some of this glue here thinned out. You see how easy this glue came back up with water. So, you know, if you get it spread out where you don't be on the roadbed, it's not going to bother anything enough to where you can't pull that back up. So I got a little bit of glue outside of there, and then I've got more filler to put in over on the side here yet too. So that's all going to get covered up anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get this much of the roadbed back down since it's already been cut. Looks like I need to go. Now I think I'm just going to go all the way. Well, maybe not. Trying to decide if I need to. You know, I think I'm just going to go all the way. I think that would be the way to do this. And I think that'll, hopefully that's going to, glue's going to act like a clamp to hold that in place while I cut it so it doesn't shift on me. So I think that'll work out actually. Just make sure I get along these edges here. Hold it down tight. I just like how this glues down. It just glues down really easily. There that piece is. Get it seamed in there. Get it butted. You know, when you paint this, it will even help reduce that seam that much more. So that piece laid in there really nicely. So I'm glad that laid in there like that. I just need to get this to seam here a little better. It's already down pretty tight. So I'm just going to get this piece here, is a piece of scrap I had left over. I think I can just lay that down in there like so. Then I will just, I think what I'll do is just do it like that. So, straight edge here. Now that piece is. That seamed up really good. Okay. Now I think I can just take and seam this piece in here. Cut this piece. Okay, that didn't come out all that good, but I can trim that up once it dries a little bit better. Quite get that lined up right for some reason. See if I can do them a little better all the way down. Needs to go over a little bit there. Didn't quite get my, yeah, that's, there we go. All right. Oh, that's kind of drying already. Kind of surprised about that. Yeah. Just a little bit more glue up in here. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, that's better. Okay. I'm just go ahead and cut this off right here, get it out of my way. Okay, straight edge. Actually, I'd rather have that like that. Yeah, that's better. Thought I was cutting through both layers, but maybe not. Be careful on that. Okay, there it is. There we go. So you can seal it up just perfectly. You notice how I double overlap that and then just cut, you know, where I'm cutting both pieces, and that'll let you seam that. Doesn't even matter if it's crooked, it's gonna, you don't really, it's gonna follow wherever your, I mean, your lines are gonna match even if you cut that crooked. here's a little bit touchy to cut. It's on that slope, but it doesn't want to cut too good. So there we go. I guess that, I don't know, maybe I need a new blade. That blade seems like it's getting dull or something. Okay, so there. Get this all down. There it is, guys. That went pretty quick. That's been a long time coming. I'm glad that's all done. I still got to paint the new pieces I patched in there, and I'm probably going to repaint that whole thing anyway. And I'm going to go back in there and put my crack lines in there. You know, if you're doing those cracks, what you want to do, you kind of want to take your blade here and then start and then work it back and forth like this. You wiggle back and forth when you do your lines. And then I think it's best if you don't get carried away with making a whole bunch of spiders off of that. And it might actually work a little better if you, I'll let this dry a little bit and maybe get a new blade. I don't know, just cutting it last time, I don't know if it dulled that blade or what, but it sure cut it a lot easier when it wasn't glued down. That's all I can say. And, once that glue dries, it might be better to try to cut those lines in there. So that's part of the weathering, I got to do yet. I'm going to ding up some more of these edges like this. And, when I go in to put my scenic materials in here, it's going to look different anyway, other than just this painted surface. Well, there it is. Man, I finally got the road complete across the bridge. Boy, that seemed like that was just almost impossible to get that accomplished for some reason. I guess I just really put that off. So, the other thing on this I was talking about, just kind of show you what I was dealing with. This bridge was long enough to come to this original edge here. That's where the original Homosote edge is. And by shortening that bridge a little bit, it made me, these are things you need to think about a little bit. It made you pull that at a less severe angle. So I don't have this great big hump in front of my building. And then I didn't really want the bridge past the, coming out here in the corner of my buildings on each side. So that was another thing that dictated that I cut that down a little bit and do what I did. And flipping the buildings, on that side of the street, flipping them over or flip-flopping them, it let me get my parking back in, because this really isn't dead center. It's pretty close, but it's a couple inches. I had a couple more inches that way, plus extending my banks over farther. And I may come back and redo those banks yet. I'm not sure I like those yet. They still got to be finished painted and everything, but that's beside the point. I want some more bank on there, a higher bank than that. And that stuff, it does shrink a little bit. So I've built this up like twice to make it match with this road bed here, and each time I came, I had it there, and then each time I came back it was lower after it dried a little bit. So if you do this paper mache for anything, it's a pretty decent product, easy to work with. The drawback is it's very slow to dry. Now, this was put in, this has been down, 4 or 5 days. And this has been in a couple. And this is already hard and dry just like that. So, by putting the fan in here, you know, this is kind of thick, so it's still a little bit soft there yet, but it'll harden up just like this. I mean, this gets a hard shell, which will be hard as that surface there when you're done. You know, it was soft for a long time, even though you could touch it and you weren't gonna put a depression in it. Now, the next morning I could have done that. So I would recommend sticking a fan on here if you're going to use this stuff, like overnight, and it will speed that drying process up. I think that's the main reason this here bank dried so much faster, and it's probably not quite as thick, you know. So, like I say, the thickest part being this. One of the things that I was dealing with here, I want some parking in here. And that was the other issue I had trying to do this ramp, and it was going to, detract from some of my parking. Moving all this over helped that out quite a bit. So I'll be able to do the buildings here and have plenty of room behind yet. So you can see it gives me quite a bit of room. I could probably even get a 1/48 scale vehicle in there. That's what you call a monster truck. Yeah, that's a monster truck in front of the building there. It just looks out of place, doesn't it? I don't know. What do you guys think on the scale of the vehicles? These might be a little too small, but this is definitely, it's too big. It's hiding a lot of stuff. That was the other thing about maybe, pulling these buildings up a little bit higher here for the bank. It looks like I'm not going to need to do that now, but if I had, it's just going to let you see these details on the building a little better, and the smaller vehicles will help me achieve that too. So I didn't want to cover up all my details. It's got quite a bit of detail in there, you can see, and that's the other thing is, I'll be making some of my own details. I got details to do on these buildings. I got signage to do on all this stuff. There's a lot going on here yet. So I'm just glad I got this part done, and things are really starting to take off now. I don't know what, seems like that fascia board was holding a lot of stuff up for me. I don't know why I didn't just get that kicked out of the way. It's probably because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do about these suspended portions here, whether I was going to make it a lift out or a tilt up or whatever. So I still haven't decided on that yet, and it just let me, I should have just came to the conclusion I'll just deal with that at a later date and be done with it, because there's nothing that says I can't. It's not really going to influence any of the other part of the work I'm doing here. All right, well, that's all I have for tonight, and until next time, you're watching Dale's Rails, and thanks for watching.